Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans. How's it going out there? It's not Porky. It's the hardcore's hardcore. I'm like a pound shop Porky. I'm like an IBO, international, intercontinental, interim silver belt of Porky's Corner. Just gonna do a quick video on this week's build up to the fight. It's fight week. The fight's finally happening. Thank goodness. It's great for boxing that this fight is actually happening. I was really skeptical. I actually said that this fight wouldn't happen. So I'm wrong. I'm glad I'm wrong because it's good for British boxing. British boxing the last couple of months is we've had some dire decisions, dire refereeing. Officiating has been atrocious. And we're kind of talking about these things and it's not good. We should be talking about the fighters and good fights and positive things. But we can't because there's been so much going on. But finally, we've got this big fight. 94,000 people at Wembley is the biggest ever boxing event in the UK ever. And it's happening. Thank goodness. I'm glad to see it's happening. I actually think Frank Warren's actually surprised that this fight's happening as much as I am. There were several, obviously, fighters aside to be as a replacement, as alternates. But a fight of this magnitude, you're going to have that anyway. But we had the whole purse split argument. We had the whole contract dispute. We had all the back and forth between Jeffrey Benz and Frank Warren on TalkSport. We had the silence from Dillian Whyte the whole way through the camp. So it's finally happening and I'm delighted. I'm delighted for boxing fans. I'm delighted for the people that are going to watch it. And it's something to look forward to in boxing. And it's great that it's happening in the UK between two British fighters. It hasn't really felt like a big fight week. It's been a strange week in boxing. And it didn't feel like a traditional fight week. Normally on Monday it starts and every day it ramps up. But as well, we had the whole thing with Dillian Whyte not turning up at the media workout. And you don't really see anything in a media workout anyway that's going to tell you who's going to win. It's just a PR exercise for the press to sell the fight. Next day, he's there at the press conference. Whatever was said and done behind closed doors, he did turn up to the press conference. He was contractually obligated to do that. If he wouldn't have did that, it would have been utter chaos after this fight. And Frank Warren made a comment about, what's happened and, before this, it's forgot about and we'll move on. That's good to hear that. Does he mean it? Well, we'll see. Only time will tell. But it's been a strange week, and as I say, I don't think BT actually thought this fight was going to happen because their pay-per-view platform's only been opened up 3 weeks now, and the undercard's only been announced like 3 weeks, and absolutely dire undercard, I have to say. I'm really gutted for Anthony Kakachi and what happened to him and getting all the way over there to London and finishing his camp to be told there was no fight for him. If it would have been an Isaac Lowe's opponent, I bet they would have got a replacement for him. So I'm really disappointed for Anto. He hasn't got this big fight, and 94,000 people. The fight in front of that audience would be the highlight of your career, regardless of opposition wise. But as I say, I'm really disappointed. How great it is the fight's actually happening. How great it is for 94,000 people. It's the biggest gate in a British boxing fight. It is astounding that has actually happened, but the undercard is atrocious and it hasn't really helped sell the fight. Normally, that if you have a good depth of an undercard, it helps sell the fight and helps make it a more commercially lucrative for the promoter to have a good undercard. But they did fork out a fortune on the purse bid, so. But I think they should have forked out a bit more for the fans. It would have been a more fan-friendly event if the undercard would have been better. Tommy's on it against a 10-1 guy. How good is a 10-1 guy? He's probably garbage. That's why he's fighting him. As I say, John said this week that he sees shades of Triple G in him. That's his opinion. That's his son. He's going to say that. Isaac Lowe in a domestic level fight. Isaac's lost his last fight against a really good Mexican. He didn't win a round in that fight, I thought. But it's good to see him back. I just don't think there's a depth in the card. I think there should have been better fights there. I would have liked to seen like Dennis McCann in there, or Archie Sharp even against Anthony Kakachi. David Adelai's on it, but he's fighting absolutely nobody. So it would have been good for them to bring through their talent, good enhancement talent. But we haven't got that, and I'm not going to go on about it. So it's been a strange week. We had the press conference. Nothing really happened in the press conference. Dillian was really subdued and really relaxed. And I think Tyson knew that he wasn't going to wind him up, so he didn't even try. I don't think Dillian wanted to get in a slanging match with Tyson because there's only going to be one winner there. You look how Tyson broke Deontay Wilder at the press conferences, and look how he broke Vladimir, in their press conferences. So he didn't want to do that. And then all of a sudden it was John and Dean Whyte had a bit of an altercation, and John was on the next day calling him out, and Dean Whyte, Dean Whyte looked like he had just come off saving another plane somewhere. So they had their altercation, and that got a lot of media attention to kind of give that a bit of a lift, because this fight needs close to 2 million pay-per-views. That's what they're looking. That's I think Frank said between 1.5 and 2 million views for it to be a real commercial success for them. And they need that back. They've forked out massive money for this fight, so they need every pay-per-view. And a subdued Tyson and a subdued relaxed Dillian isn't good for selling pay-per-views. So the John and Dean to the rescue. It's been like John's been in John mode for the last 3 days. He actually called out Dillian Whyte's dad and Dean Whyte and any man in London. I think he's just really excited that he hasn't been at a Tyson fight since he fought over in Belfast against Pianetta. So at that fight myself, and that was the last fight he's actually been at. I think that top rank deal was Tom Swartz, Otto Wallin, and the 3 Wilder fights. And this has it been a success for Top Rank? I don't think it has. It didn't draw as well as they expected. I don't think Wilder and Fury grossed 1 million pay-per-view buys in America. So that wasn't good. I remember Bob said it needed 1.5 in America, but it didn't do that. Even though they got good gate receipts, but its pay-per-view is the model that they make their money off. But saying that, their model, 750, 900 pay-per-views over there at $80 a time. That over here it's £25. It's a lot more affordable. But it was Dean Whyte and John Fury to the rescue, and John has been in John mode all week. Today at the press conference, he was at absolute. Him and Dean were doing like a spar off. We had John talking Brixton chat, and he was just in complete John mode all day long, selling the fight. And for being there 2 hours unscripted, he was only John could do that in absolute John mode. He looked like he had 3 tons of furiosity in him. But yeah, he was entertaining. He did say again that Tommy, he sees shades of Triple G in Tommy. We'll see that. We'll and Tommy could win a world title. I don't think so. I think he's a good bit off on that. But we'll see. It's a son in it. He's going to say that. He is going to say that. We know John and was an entertaining weigh-in. You know, both guys showing each other a lot of respect, which is good for boxing. I think it's a bit late now in selling pay-per-views. I think it would just look completely obvious if they were mugging each other off up there. I think people would know it was completely scripted if that was the case. But it was good to see them actually on the scales weighing in for this big fight. And we had Dillian approach Jose Sulaiman the other day after the press conference, saying about, you know, that he should have got more in the purse split and it's cost him this and that. Well, whoever advised him to lodge 300k as his purse for that second Povetkin fight, that's the person that has cost him millions, who misadvised him on that. I don't know who it was. Sounding the likes of Jeffrey Benz and his team. Has he been poorly managed, poorly promoted in this fight? He hasn't said anything. I think it's about selling yourself for this fight and the next. You sell yourself well in this fight, you're going to get a good fight the next time because you're developing name brand value. You know, you're not going to get exposure like this again, ever. So he should have been developing his name brand value for this fight and his next fight and maybe a fight after, and getting himself out there, because I say that promotion of this has been pretty. I think Sky do a better job. I think BT were late in their promotion with this because they didn't actually think this fight was going to happen, and Dillian said nothing. But for Dillian saying nothing, it has kind of gained momentum. I think TalkSport have been brilliant. They've been selling it every day. I think Simon Jordan has been delighted that he hasn't been talking about football hardly all week. We had the whole Jeffrey Benz, Frank Warren escapade, which was hilarious. Bad for boxing, good for the casuals, good for viewership of them. We had Dillian Whyte versus Alan Brazil yesterday. You know, we've had Derek Chisora kind of mugging off AJ for a couple of years and saying that Tyson's levels above him, and even called him out himself. Was wanting, you know, I think what was it, Tyson says, yeah, his final fight will be against Dale Boy in a third fight, and he's announced this week that this is his last fight. So I think Dale Boy's a bit aggrieved that he's not getting that payday, and now he's just going to turn heel on Tyson, and he's picked Dillian Whyte to beat him. It wasn't too long ago that it was the who's the donkey now, you know, Dillian Whyte, who's the donkey now. That whole escapade and the gloves are off, and he put him in the kip, he put him in the orbit in that rematch, and now he's going with Dillian Whyte and going in for battle for AJ. You know, if he hadn't been managed by AJ for this fight, he wouldn't have been backing up AJ for against Alan Brazil. Alan Brazil was completely right in what he said. He was I agree totally with him, you know. And his response the next day was absolutely savage. And they said to him, well, what do you think about it? You know, Dale Boy will be coming after you. He says, yeah, he loses all the time anyway. He's a loser, so what fancy him with chances. By the looks of Alan Brazil, I think he would be in the same weight division as him, and Ali as well. But that was funny. So that was absolutely hilarious that Dale Boy reacted, and I think Alan Brazil wanted that reaction from him, and he got it. He took the bait. But again, it's been the whole week has been strange. We had that whole thing with David and John. John's right. You know, David Nostradamus Hay. You know, don't ask David Hay to pick your lottery numbers. That's for sure. He's got it wrong every single time. Really wrong. You know, the last fight that the second Fury Wilder fight, he was saying it was the best, one of the best performances he see from any heavyweight. That version of Tyson Fury would have beat any heavyweight in history to Dillian Whyte now beating him. And I think John made a good quote where it was like, if Tyson was fighting Santa Claus, David Haye would pick Santa Claus to beat him. He does get it wrong all the time. And as a pundit, he's atrocious. This is the guy that was managing Del Boy, who's meant to know so much about boxing, and he never, ever, ever gets it right. Will he get it right tomorrow night? We'll see. He'll look even worse if he doesn't. Lennox Lewis has been here this week. I've never seen Lennox Lewis there in a whole fight build-up week doing stuff for BT. So will he be on commentary team to kind of rein back David Haye? I think so. I think David Haye will probably have a lesser role this week. I think Lennox Lewis will be there giving his opinion and commentating in that kind of slot as a commentator, which I would like to see. Ironically, it's actually 20 years to the day that Lennox actually lost in Johannesburg to Hasim Rahman. What a fight. I was actually in Manchester that weekend and I watched it in Manchester. Rahman was one of my favourite heavyweights. I actually fancied Rahman that beat Lennox Lewis. I remember Manny Stewart saying that Rahman was very dangerous for Lennox because Lennox didn't work well with jobbers, fighters that job back. Henry Akinwande was one, he said, and Hasim Rahman was the other. And I followed Rahman for a while. I remember seeing Rahman against Corey Sanders in that brilliant fight. Followed him in Boxing News, and he was there like 5-6 weeks early, getting used to the climate and the altitude in Johannesburg, and was trained by the late great Nick Durant, who was probably one of my favourite coaches ever in boxing. And the rest is history. Will that happen this weekend? We don't know. Time will tell. It's great. I'm just buzzing the fight's happening. I wasn't going to get the fight, but watching the build up today, I think it would be mad not to. Listening to the crowd, seeing the setup, the production. Hope the production's good for this. It's a spectacle. It deserves a good production. It's the biggest fight ever in British boxing history. Biggest heavyweight fight. Last big fight. British fight was Lennox Lewis and Frank Bruno and Cardiff, and it's grossed double that ticket wise. So it's great to see. The weigh-in today, it was kind of what you expect. Dillian weighed in at 253, just over 18 stone. Tyson weighed in at 264, 18.9, which is probably near stone lighter than his last fight. He had a lot of personal issues in that last fight with his young daughter being born and being ill, so camp was broke up there. So he didn't get as much of a camp. He looks a lot leaner. He reminded me this week the focus he had with when he was training with Peter. That's the type of focus he has this week. When he went over there to win the heavyweight title in Germany, he was very focused. And I don't think Peter gets that credit and hasn't been mentioned all week. Peter had him really disciplined, really focused after his late uncle Hughie and John and Peter's brother died. So I think he looks really focused. He's got that focus that I don't think he's had for that last few years, which is good to see. He knows it's a serious fight. Dillian looks focused as well. He looks very calm, relaxed. What way is the fight going to happen? What way do I see it? I see Tyson using that model that he used against Derek Chisora. Really measured, using his jab really well, boxing on the outside. I think if he gets an opportunity you're talking about this Kronk style. I'm sick of hearing this crap about, Kronk style. Joseph Parker against Derek Chisora 1 wasn't the Kronk style. That's not the Kronk style. you know, Dillian Whyte's got a Kronk member in his team. Does that mean he's going to use the Kronk style? What is the Kronk style? In Hard Knight, former Lennox Lewis coach and assistant with Manny Stewart. I think Tyson, as I say, is going to employ that boxing, using his jab. I think Dillian's going to be Dillian. Very heavy front foot, likes to hook off, use that lead hand hook. I think he'll try and counter Tyson. I think it's the best way. I don't think he can rush forward. I think he'll get smashed up and getting countered. And I don't think he wants to be in close with Tyson. Tyson's like an octopus. He'll tie him up in there. Look what he done against Vladimir. He was really dirty inside as an inside fighter, holding and clinching and holding behind the head. Tyson matched him in that there in Germany. So I don't think Dillian can afford to do that. Having that mass on you for 12 rounds, I don't think it will do him any good. I think he'll try and counter for a while, try and be a bit smarter in this fight, then probably try and work at a bit of a higher pace the second half of the fight. So I see Tyson winning late stoppage. I can also see Tyson getting dropped by Dillian. I don't know. We don't know the effects that, Tyson's saying that he wants to retire after this fight. What does that mean? The effects of the 3 Deontay Wilder fights have had on him. He's been dropped by lesser punchers. Steve Cunningham has dropped him, who's a cruiserweight, and Christian Hammer, I think, dropped him. Am I wrong? Nicola Vuerta hurt him, and he was dropped before that. They're not bigger punchers as Deontay Wilder. What effects has that had on a fighter? That those fights have an impact on your own fighting shelf life. You don't recover from those knockdowns and those shots and those fights in a couple of weeks. Their career fights that take that wee bit off your power gauge. So their long-lasting career fights, the damage he took in those fights. What is the damage? We all know in Saturday Night, punch resistance wise, any fighter that has went through those fights, and especially with Wilder, those 2 Wilder fights, it has to have an effect on a fighter's punch resistance at some stage. We've seen that a fighter go shot overnight. We've seen that. So I'm going to go with a Tyson Fury stoppage late. I think Dillian will have him down. I think it'll be a good fight. I hope it's a good fight. I hope it's a good fight for the fans that have paid for it, who are listening to it on the radio and who are there. I think British boxing needs this fight. We need something really good to talk about, because we haven't really had that this last couple of months. Does it do that 1.5 that Frank's looking for? If it doesn't, it'll be a disaster for them, and Eddie will be rolling around laughing. I hope it's a success. I hope for boxing, it's a good success for boxing. What do I think? Well, I was talking to Richard last week about it from Rotherham, and he thinks it will do well. I don't know yet. I think they started the build-up a wee bit too late, because they all thought that this fight wasn't going to happen. As I've said, I'm glad it's happening. It is happening. It's good. It's good for boxing. I'm going to buy it now. I'm going to get it myself, because I'm just hyped up all day. I'm so excited with today's antics. Today's John and John mode. As I say, it's the biggest British boxing heavyweight fight in history. And it's happening, thank goodness. So that's my take on the whole thing. I'm glad it's happening. British boxing needed this, and hopefully there's no messing around. Judges, hopefully there's nothing controversial. There's no bad cuts. There's no poor judging, there's no officiating, the British Boxing Board of Control, I don't think are officiating it, which has been on the instruction of Tyson and probably Dillian, because we want boxing to win in this fight. We don't want to be talking the next couple of days about a bad refereeing or judging decision. So that's my take on it. I've just seen that Paul Butler has just won WBO interim title. Casemiro again, not making weight, and problems with weight. This fight should have been for a full WBO title. They should have stripped him. Again, sanctioned bodies these days doing their own thing. We're not surprised, really, are we? So good for him. Will he be a 2-weight world champion? He should be, because it should have been for a WBO. That's another one of Joe's fighters. I've got my Champs Camp, Moss Side, M14, Manchester. Great documentary. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, tune in. Radio, TV. It's good for boxing that this is happening, so hopefully it's a good fight. As I say, I've stuck my long neck out on the line, and I'm going for a late Tyson Fury stoppage. So that's it. That's the video. I'm going to maybe do a Monday Mass next week. I'll do a review of the card and what's the going ons in boxing. So adios. Remember, keep liking, sharing and subscribing. Keep on trucking. Keep on supporting boxing, and don't have nightmares. Enjoy.